Good morning, everybody. It's Rebecca Undum, and you are watching Rebecca Undum Live, the weekly Facebook show where we tackle one small topic every single week to help you live big in your small town. Hey, everybody, as you're coming on, would love to know what's up with you guys. Weekend, what you guys all did. I hosted 2 birthday parties on Friday, one for my recently turned 9-year-old. We played dodgeball. Thumbs up for dodgeball. Like I posted in Instagram, I said, like, what better way to ring in a new year than to take a dodgeball to the face, right? Like, it was really fun though. They had a great time. And then I surprised my husband. He turned 40 this year. And I surprised him with a little party bus and our friends, and we drove around, and it was awesome. Yeah, thumbs up. I don't know if the thumbs up is for a dodgeball to the face, Carly, or if it's for a party bus. I feel like the thumbs up was coming before I even really said party bus. I bet I'll get another thumbs up for a party bus. It was really fun. I had a great weekend. And I don't know about you guys, but again, the weather, spring is here, right, Jayat? Yes, isn't it fantastic? Yesterday, I went with our 4-H group to Fort Ransom State Park, and we did a little geocaching, which was really super cool. And just like, I had like those certain moments where you realize that you're outside and you're wearing a sweatshirt, and now, you know, you're not wearing a coat and you don't have a hat on, you don't have gloves on, and you just stand there and you can actually feel the sun. And my sweatshirt was black, so it soaked up the sun for that moment. And I'm like, I'm warm and I'm outside, you know, like that's how I feel about the world right now. It's a really good thing. Yes. Now it is for the party bus, Carly. Well, of course you knew you liked me, like you too, kid. That's why we hang. It's good. So you guys all coming on here. I'll quick do my intro. For those of you that don't know me, I'm Rebecca Undum, and I wrote a book called How Mommy Got Her Groove Back. And I basically help women in small towns live big. So moved back to my rural community 10 years ago now. This summer it will be. And just what a journey that actually is, huh? For anybody that has done it, moved to a small town or back to a small town, it's kind of a trip. So that is what the groove is all about. So today on the show, as you guys are coming, I still would love to know like what you did this weekend, or if you're digging the weather. Jay right away was like, good morning, spring's here. Ah! It really is ridiculous how much we need it. A friend of mine from Montana just posted on her Facebook wall that it said like it had North Dakota all blocked out, basically all of North Dakota blocked out in red. And it said nice weather warning, which is really funny. Like, yeah, we're so surprised by it. We actually need a warning in North Dakota, or we may lose our damn minds, right? So it's good. It's all good. So again, welcome everybody. Today, sticking with our monthly April theme of motivation, today we are talking about really what role our environment plays. So we talked about, I think it was, well, it's been weeks ago now, we talked about blooming where you're planted, and the fact that we don't have to have all of the conditions just perfect. But I think we're crazy if we think the environment plays no role, right? Or has no factor. Oh, space heater. I still have a space heater on. Maybe eventually here I'll be able to put that thing away. But we'd be crazy to assume that the environment plays no role at all. And really today it's in the context of thinking about, is it possible for us to motivate other people? If we're in a space, if we are a parent, or if we have a team, or just if we're, you know, I'm actually the president of our small chamber. And so we're out and about doing things in the community. You think about that role and just, is it possible to motivate other people? So that's, we're going to talk about, that's the context of the environment that we're going to talk about today. So yeah, we'll get to it in just a minute. We've got a few other people that have joined us. Welcome everybody. I love spending my Monday mornings with you. Okay, so let's just dive right in. And of course, as always, the more you guys tell me, the more I love it. So, you know, hit me with your comments, hit me with your best shot, which I also sang at karaoke on Saturday night, or Friday night after the party bus. It was a good day. It was a good day. We had a great time. Okay, so generally speaking, motivation, I think the original like post for today's episode was, is it only an inside job? Like, is there a way to be, so really this is that distinction between extrinsic motivation and intrinsic motivation. So obviously there are external factors, things outside of us, which also means they're outside of our control, okay, that play a part in motivation for us. So let's just, I hate to always go to the easy thing about health and well-being, but that's an easy one, right? When our pants don't fit anymore, that is actually external, right? It isn't something that came from within us, but it's that external kind of sign, like here's your sign that maybe you need to make some changes. Also, any people that are outside of us that make us think twice about how we look, or the health and wellness whole journey, and the fact you can look at other people and go, oh my God, I just want to look like that, right? All external, all extrinsic versus intrinsic, where we're motivated by our own reasons. We have our own deep desire to change something, and we are thinking constantly about how it's going to better our lives, the why or the reason that we're chasing it, and it isn't always pinned on the things happening outside of us. Both play a part, but I think, especially this last month in Groove School, we talked all about health and the fact that true change cannot come from a place of self-loathing for whatever it is that you're trying to change. So if you're in a space right now where you're not loving your career, let's say, I'll get off the health track because it's so easy to go there. Because women, we all struggle with it, I think. But let's say you don't love your career right now and you want to make some changes. If you actually hate your career, you hate everything about it, there's almost no foundation to even build a new positive aspirational habit. There's nothing to add to it. So this idea that we think if we hate ourselves enough, or we're critical enough of ourselves that we can change something for the better, that's not how real motivation and real change works. The only way that we're going to put any time, care, and attention into something, whether it's our career, our marriage, our bodies, all of those things, has to come from a place of some semblance of love. There's got to be something that we love about it, because we don't pour our time and energy and attention into things that we hate. Okay? So knowing that, it is clear that more than likely, if you're you're in a place in your life where you want to make a big change, some of it might be motivated by external factors. Just recognize that that's not going to be the thing that makes it last for you. If you want to actually see a change all the way through, you've got to find the reasons for yourself internally. That being said, the environment does play a role. And I have 3 basic ways that our environment plays a role, or our surroundings play a role. Like, why does our environment even matter? Okay. The first is that it can create comparison instead of motivation. So this is a negative way that it matters. Okay. So I've had a lot of women ask me that question. When does my obsession or my looking, and we always talk about, like, you're driving your car down the lane, like you are on a path to something and you're in your vehicle, right? You're setting a goal, you're driving down your lane, and that temptation to look side to side and say, well, what is she doing? And how did she get ahead of me? And that whole comparison thing. I've had women ask me, what's the difference between comparison and inspiration? Because it's perfectly okay to look at other people outside of you and be inspired by what they've achieved. And then that becomes you have to end up finding your own reason, but somebody else can completely inspire you to take on a new challenge or a change, right? The difference between comparison and inspiration is how looking at that other person makes you feel. Okay, we completely disregard the impact of emotions in motivation and in setting goals and achieving goals. Like, if I look at somebody, I'm going to actually, just using, again, if we're talking health, because they're, again, society, just all of the messages that we get about what's good and what's not. Okay, so you look at another woman, let's say she's your friend even, and you look at her and you think, oh my God, like, I just wish I could be her. I wish I could be more like her. She's so dedicated and she's so fit and she's so sexy, and I wish I could look like that. I wish I was her. That is not going to motivate you. It's not, all it is, that's comparison, saying, I wish I could be like her. I wish I could do, have all the success. I wish, right? Versus looking at that same person and saying, I want to know exactly what she did, because that is so inspiring. I want to know how I can walk that same journey. It's like, it's getting excited about her process versus getting excited about, wishing you could be her. So it's all about how you feel when you look at that person. So externally, absolutely, it matters because there are people around us that are potentially setting us up either for those feelings of comparison, or if we're not checking them, they could be inspiration. And that's a good thing, right? So knowing and paying attention to what you're really feeling when you're looking at those people outside of you. Does it make you feel less than? Then that's comparison. If it makes you feel inspired and hopeful and optimistic, that's inspiration, and that's a good thing. Okay, so that's the first way that our environment really matters. Would love to hear what you guys think about this, if you have experienced that, because I've definitely had both. And I can tell you, again, it goes back to that, the comparison feelings end up kind of reinforcing that self-loathing that you feel about yourself, and you think, I'm not good enough, I'm not enough. When really, that isn't a place to start anything positive, because nothing positive can grow from it. I hope that makes sense to you guys. Let me know what you think. Okay, number 2, we can't take negative influences in our environment lightly. Talk about this all the time, right? That we become the average of the 5 people we surround ourselves with, that the people we hang out with, we become like them, we take on their personalities. It's even more than just people. When you are setting a goal or you are trying to accomplish something, we have to think about and know ourselves well enough to know the triggers that are likely to cause us to derail or veer off plan. So it could be people, right? These are the people that will sabotage your progress or will try to detract. And it's not always overt. Sometimes it 100% is. But there's also environments, places, situations. So thinking about when you're outside, it's that whole thing of, I do so well with my diet when I'm just home, but then I go on vacation, or I'm with my mom, or I'm with my cousins, or I'm with my girlfriends, and then everything falls apart. Those are triggers. So getting a good handle on knowing what your triggers are and recognizing, having some sort of a game plan in place for what you're going to do when you find yourselves with them, if you really are trying to stick to some sort of a plan. That's another reason, or another way that the environment really affects us, because again, they're outside of us, but we will be impacted by them if we aren't paying attention. Okay. So we have, we find ourselves, first of all, in a place that we can get into a state of comparison versus inspiration. And the second is that negative influences are real, and they're usually external to us, right? So we have to take it upon ourselves to recognize what they are and to have a game plan in place for what we're going to do when when we come upon them, right? When we're outside of our perfect little world that we try to create when we're setting goals. Okay, and then number 3 is that nobody succeeds in a vacuum. Like, nobody succeeds and accomplishes any goal all by themselves. We all need support. So going back to this idea of, is it possible to motivate other people? I'm going to stake my claim that no, it's actually not possible to motivate other people. Motivation is primarily an inside job. But if we are in a position, again, as a parent, as a friend, as a coach, like if you have people on a team that work for you, or in a community, we have the opportunity to inspire them to want to create the motivation for themselves. Okay, so we have a role to play. So again, our role supporting other people, or helping, or even finding that support for ourselves. So there is absolutely a role that other people play, whether we're the person playing it for someone else or we're getting that support from somebody else. So here are really 2 ways that I think we can influence other people. And again, not motivate them, but inspire them to find the motivation. The first is to be a motivated person yourself. That's what that's what modeling is, right? Model the behavior by being a person who knows what she wants, why she's after it, and has that core intrinsic desire down. And so at any point, you should always be able to answer the question, why are you really doing this? And I'm telling you, so many women that I work with on the regular don't have an answer to that question. Like, they start out, and again, it can change over time too. So don't beat yourselves up if the whole reason you've done something or still doing something, if it's changed. That's perfectly normal. But at any given time, you should always be able to answer, why are you doing this? What is the reason for it? Okay. So the first is to be motivated yourself. The second is to get a solid handle on what the other person's why is, okay? Because again, if we want to play an active supporting role in that person's journey to achieve whatever it is they're trying to achieve, we need to know what their reason is, what their why is. It can never be about what we think they ought to do. It needs to be about them. And so when we're talking about like actually formally coaching other people, we need to know what their goals are. We need to know what they care about. And any single thing that they're faltering on or they're not doing to the best of their ability, we can always tie that behavior back to what they're trying to achieve. So it's literally the what's in it for them all the time. And if you can figure out and get in, you're gonna have to ask a lot of questions. You're gonna have to be a really good listener. But that's how we support other people to be motivated. It isn't that we can motivate them, but we can certainly be that source of inspiration and support, again, that every single person on the freaking planet needs if we're going to try and achieve something. Okay? So when you're thinking about yourself, is your environment set up to help you truly succeed? Is your environment set up to help you actually get what you desire? And if not, what changes are you going to make? Because I'll just do a quick recap. Basically, our environment can affect our results in 3 ways. One is that it potentially can create comparison versus inspiration. Number 2 is that negative influences are not to be taken lightly. They have a serious effect on our results. And number 3 is that we all need support. So we need to really have a sense of who's going to be there to support us. And also going back to number 2, it's knowing your triggers. Knowing who, where, and what situations are likely to cause you to falter, and then figuring out how you're going to work through them when you're faced with them. Okay? So for all of you out there that are in this kind of position, as a role model, or again, a parent, really think about these 3 things and ask yourself how you're doing, being part of that person's environment. And then also just remembering that if you feel frustrated that you can't get them to do what you need them to do, remember that you are not responsible to motivate other people. You do all of these things, you're doing the best that you can. And ultimately, it does come down to what that person wants for themselves and whether or not they're finding that intrinsic motivation. Okay? So I would love to hear what you guys think about this topic, because I think parenting is one of the biggest ways this shows up in my world. And then obviously I like coach women. That's what I do for work. But I find it harder with my children because I take their lack of motivation so personally. Like when they don't see things the way I see things and I want them to do something, I take it personally. So that's maybe another just bonus tip, is to really ask yourself, are you taking it on too much when it's really not yours to take on? It still belongs to that other person. We have a role to play, but we can't own it for them, right? Okay, so that is what I've got for you guys today. I hope that you can really think about this week and think about what it is that you're working on, what it is that you're trying to achieve, and answer that question for yourself. What are you really after? What's really the point? What are you really trying to accomplish? And then thinking about your environment and making sure that you can check those boxes, that you're setting yourself up to be as successful as you possibly can. Hey, Annie, I'm so glad you love it. Simple little things to think about, not always easy. And I always say this to all of my women in small towns. The environment is not always, it's not something we 100% get to control, right? But when we know our triggers, we know our support people, and again, they may not be right in your small town, but you've got to know who your support people are going to be, and then know what you need in terms of that support. Like, what do you need from them? Do you need accountability? Do you need to check in with them once a week? Setting yourself up to be as successful as possible. And then also considering your role in the success of other people, because we're not in this alone. We're never in it alone. And on that note, I will just say, if you guys want more support than what you get in these little weekly Facebook live shows, by all means, join us in the Groove Seekers community. It's the free group on Facebook where you can literally post any of these kinds of questions and we'll jam about things going on in your personal life. So I will post the link to that shortly. And then I will also post the wallpaper if you haven't gotten your wallpaper yet. It's monthly themed wallpaper. It corresponds with the themes of everything we talk about on the Facebook Live show. And it's there for you. It's free. So I will post both of those links. And as always, any of you that are watching on replay, by all means, throw your questions down. Tag me if you've got anything you want to jam about. But I really do believe that motivation is such an important topic to be thinking about. And we got to support each other. And I am here to support you in achieving all your dreams. So I would love to hear what they are. Okay. Until I see you guys next Monday morning, as always, groove on and have an awesome week, you guys, okay? We'll see y'all soon.